The Simpsons did it! We've all heard this at some point. After 31 seasons and 679 episodes, they've covered a lot of topics from a lot of different angles. Hijinks galore, there are very few possible scenarios that this ever-changing team of writers hasn't explored. Sure, it's all fiction and speculation, but they've actually hit the nail on the head more than you might think. There's always the idea that if you put 1,000 monkeys in front of 1,000 typewriters, eventually you'll get a masterpiece. The monkeys may not know what they're doing, but eventually they'll hit the right keys in the right order, right? Well, let's not compare TV writers to monkeys here. They have at least some idea as to what they're doing. They're keen observers of the human condition. It shouldn't be too surprising when one of the ridiculous bits they come up with comes true. And the more ridiculous bits they filled their 21 weekly minutes with, the more likely they are to strike gold. It might not actually happen for a decade, but if the Simpsons can guess that a three-eyed fish might be found in a reservoir full of nuclear power plant water, you might think they have their finger on the pulse of something. Hello, fellow friends and philosophers, and welcome back to the most mind-bending channel on YouTube, Life's Biggest Questions. I'm your voice in the void, Keegan Hughes, and today we're asking a question that might make donuts taste a whole lot better. What if everything from The Simpsons came true? Before we get started, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more cromulent content. Perfect. Let's begin. So what if everything from The Simpsons came true? Well, I think the first major change we would notice is that we'd be living in Springfield, or Shelbyville, or any other location prominently featured on the show. Because if everything came true, we'd be living in that universe. We'd all be animated, goofy, yellowy, bug-eyed, same clothes every day wearing folks. Walking around, sawing the heads off statues, dropping rods of uranium without consequence, having a grand old time. It would be impossible to pack every single detail into one measly video, so if you want to know the real answer, go watch all 31 seasons in one sitting. It'll rewire your brain in such a way that the fictional world of The Simpsons becomes inseparable from reality. That's a fun stay-at-home exercise, eh? If you're not willing to commit to that life-changing practice, we'll take some examples and dissect them right here, right now. Nothing too crazy, mind you, but changing everything at once normalizes a lot of things that would otherwise be seen as pretty wild if they happened incrementally. So get ready for some cartoon rules. Speaking of cartoons, the stakes always seemed a little bit lower for things that are animated, eh? Grievous injuries become slapstick comedy, reckless behavior is encouraged for the sake of visual interest. If you're gonna animate something, it's gotta be visually interesting. No full scenes of over-the-shoulder conversations. That's not happening. The world of The Simpsons is more grounded than a lot of cartoons, especially considering that they allow people to get injured and die, but it happens a lot less often than in real life. If someone breaks a leg or gets into a car accident, the fallout from those events doesn't involve months of recovery, then rehab, then adjusting to independent life once again. Instead, it's a montage of recovery tropes, or maybe the injury lasts for the entire episode. One thing's for sure though, no consequences can possibly last for more than 21 minutes. The Simpsons is not serialized, and therefore must wrap up each episode to be ready for the next. Plots are self-contained. Any large-scale change must be resolved in order to maintain order in the universe. So if this aspect of The Simpsons came true, we'd be living in a world with way fewer consequences. Starting on whatever day the cartoon came to life, nothing would change. Or at least, nothing would change quickly. Maybe over the course of many years, things would start to look a little different or sound a bit strange. Maybe some new people would show up and stick around, but only at the start of a new season. Otherwise, any new person or event could not possibly have an effect on the world that lasts more than the length of a standard episode of television. That's just how it goes. Meet a mysterious crooning saxophonist? Well, don't expect him to be around for too long. In about 10 minutes, something tragic will happen and remove him entirely from your life. Don't worry though, the mourning period can't extend past the end credits. Then it's on to the next story. I think once this was established, we'd see a big uptick of people taking crazy risks, acting out in ridiculous ways, and being outwardly cruel to their loved ones. Why? Because anything said or done won't matter a half hour from now. You can get away with pretty much anything in the Simpsons verse. Although every once in a while, ridiculous actions do have real consequences. Take Frank Grimes, for example. He's a realistic, grounded individual who sees Springfield for what it is. Ridiculous. Why should Homer keep his job if he's lazy and incompetent? How is it possible that such a bumbling buffoon keeps a high-paying job at a nuclear power plant? This drives Frank crazy and eventually he acts out. Running amok at the power plant, Frank acts out all the irresponsible behaviors he sees on full display every day. Most of the power plant workers can get away with this thanks to divine intervention from their all-powerful creators, but Grimes has drawn attention to it and is punished. Had he just ignored the ludicrousness of it, he might have been spared. So I guess the lesson here is you can be as ridiculous as possible in a world where everything from The Simpsons comes true, just don't draw attention to it. If you play your cards right, you might a celebrity, fight a coworker, and eat a burrito the size of your head and face no ill effects for any of it. Nice. Speaking of food-related ill effects, we'd be eating a lot more if everything from The Simpsons came true. This classic American television show knows its country inside and out and has invented countless fictional food items to ensure the fast food obsession is well represented. From Krusty Burger to 1,200 tacos for $1,200 to the ubiquitous Duff beer, there's an insanely unhealthy meal for everyone. And boy would it show. Let's just say there aren't too many people in Springfield who remain extremely fit. These snacks and squishies are enough to make anyone gain a few pounds. And in terms of quality control, I think we're almost there. Some classic gags from The Simpsons include rubbing a fish fillet on the wall of a building to make it go clear, 3 types of beer coming from the same tube, and the ribwich being made of, well, something resembling meat. All this sounds suspiciously similar to real-life products and effects. Okay, maybe not the whole clear wall bit, but you could definitely make a piece of paper clear with any fried fish sandwich. So if everything from The Simpsons came true, we'd have even more ridiculous food items to choose from. And there's nothing out there I'd rather eat than a pink, sprinkled donut from Lard Lad. And these choices would embiggen our hearts. Probably not in the way that Jebediah Springfield intended. Yum yum. Tying the two examples we've discussed together, we'd probably also see more Homers out there getting too big to work and working from home. Technically, that's where we're at now. The Simpsons is so rich with content, there are thousands of things that would happen if everything were to come true. Babies would shoot billionaires. Plowmen would become famous. Television clowns would hire serial killer sidekicks. Houses would burn down and be passed off as Aurora Borealis. Average Joes would be sent into space with a handful of potato chips. People would be publicly crucified by the media due to a half-baked story. And you know what? I'm pretty sure most of this has already happened in our world. We are well on the way to everything from The Simpsons coming true already. Again, the writers just tend to make everything that's already happening and make it a little more absurd, so we shouldn't be too surprised. But it would be nice if these ridiculous situations came with a side order of tobacco and less real-world consequences. It's nice and funny when they're fiction, but seeing it all come to life is eerie and upsetting. So what do you think? What part of The Simpsons world do you want to make the leap into reality? What's your favorite Simpsons bit that came true? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more prescient ones from what if the Tylosaurus didn't go extinct. Gaming Odds and Ends says, I wish 2 Leviathan were still around. He was a fire-breathing water dragon. That would be beyond wicked, although I'm not 100% sure about the utility of fire breathing while underwater. Soccer is Life says, my name is Tyler, so I'm really here for this creature. You've got a new favorite dino. Now you have to eat the same stuff that it would. Hope you like seafood. Bomber Bro says, what if King Kong 2005 or 2017 was real? What about 1933? Gotta love stop motion animation. TNT Turtle 2007 says, what if the kaiju from Pacific Rim were real? Well, then we'd better get some folks ready to drift. Lots of twins would have brand new jobs, that's for sure. And Doom Guy with internet access says, I want to ride one. Most people would just get eaten. But for you, Doom Guy, I think the Tylosaurus would allow it. And that's all the time we have for today. Before I swim out to sea, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more Choco-tastic stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.